life from here. We're disconnected from the previous life. So I was saying that one of the reasons why Laban pursued Jacob so hotly was because he wanted to, perhaps his plan was to take some of Jacob's cattle, take some of Jacob's cattle, or take his daughters, to frustrate Jacob. And then another reason was because of his idol, which was stolen by Rachel. But he thought it was Jacob who stole the idol. Okay, so he pursued him, but thank God for God's intervention. When God is on your matter, you can rest assured that nothing can go wrong. Nothing can go wrong. God had promised Jacob that he would bring him back safely to his father's house. So he was going to keep it. So he had to appear to Laban. For the Lord to appear to Laban in the dream, that means Laban had evil intentions towards Jacob. But the Lord appeared to him and told him, don't speak anything evil or good to him. Don't harm him. Don't hurt him. Okay. And then Laban finally overtook Jacob, and excuse me. He pitched his tent in the same Mount Gilead which Jacob had pitched his own tent, and he began to ask Jacob. He said, "Why did you do this? Why did you just leave so suddenly? You didn't even tell me. If you had told me, I would have sent you away with joy, with singing, with dancing." I doubt that. That was a lie. And Laban himself knew it. It was a big lie. If Jacob had told him he was leaving, he would have made a plot, to maybe he would have thought about how one way or the other he could foil Jacob's plan to leave and ensure that Jacob remains. Maybe he would have asked his sons to take some of Jacob's animals, or he would have told Jacob, "You can't go with my daughters. If you must leave, you will leave alone. My daughters will stay with me," or something like that. So it was a lie. It was a lie. When Laban said he would have sent him away with joy, with singing, with dancing, that was a lie. A huge lie. He was too wicked a man for that. But that was what he claimed. And then he said that Jacob did not allow him to kiss his daughters, to kiss his grandchildren. Okay, goodbye. That what Jacob did was a foolish act. If he insists, but I don't think it was a foolish act. It was a very wise act. It was very wise. Okay. And then in verse 29 is interesting. Verse 29 says, "It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad." In other words, God clipped Laban's wings. Okay. God humbled Laban, brought him, ensured that Laban was unable to carry out whatever evil plan he had in mind. Appeared to Laban. Imagine if God appears to you in a dream and warns you. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to take heed. Okay, to obey that which because you don't know what is going to happen. The Lord himself appeared to Laban and threatened him. Okay, the Lord appeared to Laban. That was God stepping in himself to handle a situation for Jacob, because God was all Jacob had. If God had not stepped in, Jacob would have been finished. Laban would have hurt him, would have done something to ensure that Jacob felt pain, maybe by taking away his cattle, or by taking his daughters, taking his wife, by taking Jacob's wives, okay, or something. But we see how God clipped Laban's wings. So it is in my power to do you hurt. It is in my power. I have the power to do it. If I want to hurt you, I have the power. But the God of your father appeared to me in a dream last night, and he told me to take heed not to speak evil or good to you. And so because of that, Laban became powerless. The almighty Laban, wicked Laban, evil Laban became powerless to perpetrate his evil acts. And then he continued. He said, and now, he said in verse 30, he said, okay, fine, you decided you want to leave. I know that you've been longing for your father's house, okay? You really want to go. That's okay. Even though you should have told me before going, but fine. But why did you steal my gods, my idol? And Jacob, so we're told that Jacob answered Laban. He answered the first question. The first question Laban asked him about why he left without telling him. He said that it was because he was scared that Laban was going to take away his wives from him, because Jacob's wives were Laban's daughters. So Jacob said he was scared that if he had told Laban he was leaving, Laban would take away his wives. Okay? And then in verse 32, he now makes a statement regarding that idol that Rachel stole, of which Laban was accusing him. He said, verse 32, he said, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Say, with anyone you find your gods, you say we took your gods. If you find it with anybody you find it with, that person will not live. Now Jacob had the confidence to say this because he believed that nobody in his family had taken Laban's God. And of course, I won't blame him for believing that, because I believe that he must have taught his family, about the one true God. He must have taught his family in the ways of God. So he believed that there is no way any member of his family will want to have anything to do with another God. If only he had known that it was his beloved Rachel, I'm sure he would not have made that statement. He said, anyone you find it with, let that person not live. In other words, let the person be put to death. Let the person die. And he continued to say, before our brethren, send thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. So he said, my children are here, my wives are here, we're all here. Search us. Okay, search us and see if you find what you're looking for. And we're told, say, for Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. One thing that I want to point out here is, don't hide your sin. Don't hide your sin. When you hide your sin, it can have grave consequences. Jacob made that pronouncement. Let him, anyone you find it with, let him not live. In other words, anyone who stole your gods, let the person die. But he didn't know it was Rachel. And so Laban went into the different tents. He searched, and then he entered into Rachel's tent. And what Rachel did was that she carried the god and she put it in the camel's furniture, and she sat on it. And so her father entered into her room. He searched everywhere. He was supposed to search the camel's furniture, but she told him that she was on her period, and so she could not get up. And so the father did not search the camel's furniture. And then in verse 36, we see that Jacob was angry with Laban, and began to ask him, what crime did I commit? What is my sin? I have served you. So you have searched all my stuff. And what have you found? Nothing. Okay? So if he had been with him for 20 years, he served him 14 years for his daughters and 6 years for his cattle. And he said, in those years, these 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. In other words, now we see that same blessing active in Jacob's life. He said that for the 20 years he was with Laban, the female animals did not have miscarriages, did not have premature births. Okay, and there was no barrenness among them. They did not have stillbirths either. Said the ewe lambs, okay, and the she goats did not cast their young. See, so we see the blessing. It was express, no death, no miscarriages, just increase, reproduction, increase. So we see that blessing active in the life of Jacob. And he said that he did not eat the rams of Jacob's flock, of Laban's flock. He didn't eat from his animals. And if any animal was torn to pieces by beasts in the field, he said he did not take it to Laban. He bore the loss of it. And Laban required that animal at his own hands, at Jacob's hands. So you will see that Laban was not an easy person to serve. First of all, he was not an easy person to serve. He was quite ruthless as a boss. Okay, and Jacob said, in the day the drought consumed him, and the frost by night. See, and his sleep departed from his eyes. Okay? And that Laban, within these 20 years, Laban changed his wages 10 times. Okay? Laban changed his wages 10 times. Said, except the God of my father, okay, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God had seen mine affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. So if not for the God of my father Abraham, okay, and then the fear of Isaac that was with me, that was with him, Laban would have sent him away empty. And truly, Laban was very much capable of doing that. He would have sent him away empty. But God was not in support of that. So God increased Jacob, ensured that Jacob left there with wealth, because that blessing was upon him. So he could not live there a pauper. He could not go to a land and stay there for 20 years and come back a pauper, come back empty. No. The blessing was at work in his life. Okay. The blessing was at work in his life. Like I was saying about Rachel, I said, don't hide your sin. Now, after Laban had searched and gone, Rachel never went to her husband and said, I took this. I am the one who took it. Okay. I am the one who took it. She hid it. hid it. That was idolatry. She hid it. She didn't tell her husband. She didn't tell anybody. And Jacob had already said with his mouth, say, anybody that is with it, that person should die. So let them not live. Perhaps if she had gone to her husband and confessed, perhaps he would have reversed the words he spoke. But she did not. She thought that her father was gone, and that was the end of it. The thing about God is that he will never, he will not share his glory with anyone or with any God, with any other God. He will never share his glory. And yesterday I pointed out that Rachel was trying to, what she was doing was she was trying to smuggle in a strange God into a household that serves only the true and living God, and has served him since Abraham's time. And she was the only wife who did that. I mean, Abraham married Rachel, and Abraham married Sarah. Sarah served the true God with him. Isaac married Rebecca, who was from the same family as Rachel. In fact, Rebecca was Rachel's aunt. Isaac married Rebecca. Rebecca came to him and served the true and living God with him. But here was Rachel trying to bring in another God, to smuggle in a strange God into a family that has a covenant with God, into the covenant line. She was trying to bring in a strange God to the covenant line. And we'll see how she ended. Okay, we'll see how she ended. And I want to point out that when God is with you, you can never fail. When God is with you, you can never fail. No matter, man may try to bring you down, but as they try, they will keep failing. Because when God is behind you, you have backing. You have nothing to fear. Okay? You have nothing to fear. The only time that you should fear is when God is not with you. Okay? If God is not with you, you should be afraid. Because you will be a victim to man's cruelties and wickedness. But as long as God is with you, you have absolutely nothing to fear. He will guide you. He will protect you. He will prosper you. Okay. He will make you escape the traps that men set for you, and he will make them to fall into their own traps. God was with Jacob, and so despite everything that Laban did to put him under, to subjugate him, he still flourished. He still blossomed. Okay, and he did not leave Laban's house empty, because God was with him. Okay, so it is important that we have a relationship with God. It is important that God is with us. Okay, because that is the only way you can survive the wicked world. Okay, survive the wicked world we find ourselves in. I pray that the Lord will help you to understand this message and to have a relationship with God, to ensure that He's on your side. Okay. In Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Thank you all so much for being a part of Word Meal tonight. It was a pleasure having you here. I hope we got the message the Lord had for us, and I pray that He will give us the grace to apply what we've learned to our lives. In Jesus Christ's name. I'll see you all again tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. But don't come alone. Invite someone. And as you do so, may the Lord bless you abundantly. Have a lovely night's rest, sleep tight, sweet dreams, and good night.